Hello, everyone. Happy whatever day you are choosing to indulge in this film. It is technically Friday for me. You may be watching this on Sunday, and I hope you are. We're going to talk today about one question because we only had one submitted. And like I say every week, you guys have to ask the questions. And if you don't ask the questions, I can't answer them. It's just that simple. We had 55 views on last video, 3 comments, and only one of those comments was a question. So unfortunately, you don't have a big piece of the pie today. You're only going to get a sliver of the pie, and it's a plastic surgery pie, as you probably can tell by the title of this video. This was submitted by Real. This was submitted by Raforleon Kennedy. This was submitted by Realion Kennedy. This was submitted by I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with that 4. Is it supposed to be a 4 or is it supposed to be an A? I'm going to need some clarification because it looks like really on Kennedy. Please help me out. Question. And they didn't specify moral, personal, or hypothetical, but considering it is dealing with principles of wrongness or rightness, we're going to slot it in the moral category. Is it wrong to tell people their plastic surgery looks bad? Okay. I don't want to give an answer that is so basic, so expected, that you say, why did I even watch? So I need to come here with some different perspectives. Off the rip, my gut reaction is yes, it's wrong to tell people their plastic surgery looks bad, as it's wrong to tell someone that any of their appearance looks bad, provided they're not asking you to do so. I try my best to never comment on the personal appearance of someone in a negative way, whether it's something they can control or not, because this kind of brings up the question of some people live by, if you cannot control it, such, people say you shouldn't comment good or bad on things you cannot control. So my daughter has super curly hair, and someone said, I appreciated this. Someone who we saw said, I want to compliment on her hair, but she can't control that. Right. And so it teaches kids and teaches people that their worth sometimes is dependent on things that are outside of their control, which can potentially be damaging. So the first part of this is the interesting piece of plastic surgery is often a choice. Now, there are some people who go through injuries or maybe illnesses or diseases or accidents or whatever that requires plastic surgery, in which case it's less of a choice and more of a medical practice to help an ailment or something, right? Burn victims, etc. I'm going to assume that people would never tell a burn victim that their plastic surgery looks bad, or someone who was in a car accident and their face, they had to get facial reconstruction surgery, right? Like, oh, dude, your plastic surgery looks pretty bad. I hate to see what your face looked like before the like after the accident, right? Like, I don't think we're talking about that. My gut says we're talking about intentional, purposeful plastic surgery. Now, I still think my answer is no. But there is an interesting piece here where if someone is paying a lot of money to adjust their natural body to one that more aligns with the world's ideation, or it aligns with how the world values vanity, or aligns with the world's objective beauty standards, and then they fail, I still don't think you should say anything. I just don't know how that would look. Like, I can't, because calling somebody ugly. Anyway, like let's say that somebody, like I used to get made fun of for my nose. I have grown into my nose a little bit. When I was in high school, I was thinner. I'm guessing my face was smaller. I didn't have the beard that accents the nose in some way. You can kind of tell, right? Like I can't look at it with you the way the camera's set up, but you can tell. Like I have a bit of a nose, or a big bit of a nose. Um, and I don't know where I was going with that. But the point is, people would comment on my nose, right? And that would make me very self conscious. And I didn't choose my nose. Um, Now, would I ever get plastic surgery on my nose because of people's comments? I'm too cheap. Okay, so no. But I think it's sad that sometimes people resort to plastic surgery because of comments of other people about their bodies, right? Like that is sad. But if that's what somebody feels like they need to do to feel better about themselves or to gain more confidence, then I'm fine with plastic surgery, right? In that respect. Um, but to tell somebody their plastic surgery looks bad, it feels dangerous. Now, let's say you have a friend who gets the plastic surgery. And I think there's various levels of plastic surgery in terms of what we're plasticking, what we're surgerying. If they ask, now you can tell them. And maybe that's my answer. It is wrong to tell people their plastic surgery looks bad unless they ask. If someone asks you, if someone opens the invitation for critique and says, hey, I just got my whatever done, how does it look? At that point, it's no longer wrong to tell them. But I do think it is wrong is right. Like, what is good? What is bad? What is right? What is wrong? I think it is not helpful because can you undo plastic surgery? Can you go back in and be like, Doc, such and such didn't like it, said it looked bad, let's fix it? I'm sure you can to some degree. I also don't know I think plastic surgery is very expensive. I would imagine it's very expensive. So with the limited scope of the question that Leon Kennedy or Re for Leon Kennedy has provided, which is fine. I just hope I've answered it for him. Um, but I think my answer is yes. It is wrong to tell someone their plastic surgery looks bad unless they ask. But you're allowed to have that opinion. You're allowed to tell your buddy. Like, you're allowed to talk behind somebody's back. I'm fine with that. Like, if I went to some place and I knew somebody had plastic surgery and I was like, ooh, looks bad, right? I would go home, like on the drive home, I would be like to my wife, I'd probably say something like, what do you think about such and such's face, right? Um, if it is a choice done for vanity, if it is a if it is a again, if it's plastic surgery as part of a medical or accident correction, I'm not saying anything. If they made a choice to go in and pay a lot of money to have something done to them to look better for the world standards on the way home, and maybe this is wrong. I'm not saying this is right. I'm not saying this is good. I probably shouldn't say anything to my wife, but I would probably, just being 100% honest, I'd probably say, what'd you think of such and such's face tonight? Interesting choice. Tough. Had to cost a lot of money for that. Ugh. And then I'd be done with it. I'd never think about it again, right? So yeah, I think my baseline, my standard practice is to try not to comment negatively about someone's appearance, plastic surgery or not. And I'll tell you this, okay? Right now I'm wearing a watch. In 8th grade, I wore a watch. I thought watches were very helpful, especially in middle school, because the bells would ring every 60 minutes. And I could be the kid in class who knew exactly when the bells would ring. And now that I say that, I realize I was a weird kid. But I had it so that I knew to the second when the bells would ring every period. And so people would look at me and I'd go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it'd ring, right? And I felt cool doing that. Well, in 8th grade, a very popular girl who I was friends with, but also like may have been romantically inclined towards, whether she knew that or not, she said, "Why are you wearing a watch? Watches are nerdy. Watches are for nerds." And when I tell you, I'm almost 30 years old, and the only reason I wear this Apple Watch is because it provides me with a lot of functionality. And there are times where I slip this watch on and I still hear her saying, "Why are you wearing a watch?" And I realize that's a personal problem. I realize that's something I will have to overcome on my own, but it shows potentially how a simple negative comment about someone's choice of appearance can impact them outside of one moment, potentially for years. And I'm probably more to blame than she is in some instance that I'm taking it, or I took it that way. And I think now if someone made that comment to me, it wouldn't bother me as much. But in middle school, when you're very impressionable and you are trying to adhere to, you know, like a societal code of rights and wrongs, do's and don'ts, because that depends on your hierarchy in a building that's very toxic and like how you're perceived by a group of people that you're always around, right? Like it's hard to be an individual. So yeah, I still think about that watch comment. And watches are so much less important or impactful than plastic surgery would be. So if you're not going to comment on somebody's watch, don't comment on plastic surgery. Have a Merry Christmas. We've already had Christmas. Have a Happy New Year.